The Battle of Britain is about to begin.
Be Christ, we got tanks up there. Let's follow a range on B Christ. I do have that on the target right now. I've got a couple of these right in front of me. I'm going after it. Right, I got him.
Welcome back to the Lead Pursuit podcast. If you've been following us on Instagram, you undoubtedly saw last week's Grognard Gazette, poking fun at the lack of math ability amongst my fellow members of the podcast. What this means is tonight I'm joined by three sad products of our public school system. First, we have a man whose scores on his standardized tests were so low that Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University would only allow him to pursue a degree in glider maintenance. Brett, how are you doing tonight?
Wax on, wax off.
Apparently that's all you need to know. It's real easy. Not that the public schools in the Northeast are any better. You know, since not only is his geography knowledge lacking, but mathematically, he's inept as well. LPP's very own 3D designer, Steve. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm doing great. It's like that hair club video. I'm not only a client, I'm the president or something like that, too.
Something like that, too.
I'm affecting the education world on both ends.
Exactly. Math for BRS players. But you know what? We also have, hailing from that great allied power, constitutionally bound to the rest of us in the other 49 states, Texas. We have a man who's so bad at basic arithmetic that I don't think I've ever received a print order with exactly the number of 3D prints that I requested. Maybe more, maybe less. It's all up to Casey, whatever he wants. Anyway, Casey, how are you doing tonight? How many Coronas have you sucked down already?
Oh, none tonight, but was it bad whenever I was taking the ASVAB and they laughed at me and I instantly went to the Marine Corps? Like, does that happen to everybody?
They're like, don't bother talking to those three people over there. Your dude is over this corner.
Yeah, they're like, son, you got a career in the infantry and then probably law enforcement after that. Don't even try.
We're going to hook you up. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about a couple things before we jump into tonight's topic, which is our terrible arithmetic and lists. So let's talk about some upcoming events. The one that I care most about, and hopefully all of us on the podcast care the most about, Crucible 10, Orlando, Florida, 30 September to 2 October. It's going to be a great time. We're going to play a lot of Blood Red Skies. The event list is finally filling out online, so if you haven't gone to tabletop events and secured your tickets, go do that right now. There are slots for Blood Red Skies games, so if you want to reserve the table for an hour, 2 hours, that's fine. You can do that. There's also slots for the tournament. Those are filling up. Right now we've got 2 miscreants signed up, plus we'll have a couple more signing up here shortly. But that'll be 3 days of Blood Red Skies and aerial gaming. We'll have a good time. We'll have fun. And we will work our way through whatever constraints we have based on the other gaming systems that are playing. Because I know Bolt Action is going to take a bunch of tables. 40K obviously has a bunch at Crucible. And for those that aren't familiar, Crucible follows the week after the historical event down there, Huracan. So, whatever. Two houses split, house divided, don't care. Gamers can decide which weekend they want to hang out and come up. So I know a bunch of guys are going to come up and hang out with the Lead Pursuit podcast. We'll be there at Crucible. We'll have fun. We'll run a tournament. We'll run some narrative stuff on Sunday. Now,
yeah, the whole gang's going to be there, though.
All of us are going to be there. Come see us all. Come punch Casey in the face. No, let's everybody please come by, at least say hi. Even if, like we talked about last week, you play Blood Red Skies all the time at home and you don't want to play Blood Red Skies at a tournament or at a convention, at least come by, say hi. It'll be obvious we'll be the 4 weirdos in Lead Pursuit shirts. So it should be pretty easy to pick us out. There is a narrative game on the schedule for Sunday. People ask me, hey, what's the narrative game? I go, hey, I don't know. So I threw out for Brett, if he wants to bring his B-29s and some of his MiGs. I'll have some sabers there. There's a lot of other stuff coming. I know Steve Guskey's planning on bringing some, I looked at it today. It was AVG, China Burma Theater, stuff like that for early war. So there's going to be a lot of cool airplanes there. Let us know what you want, and we can always come up with a narrative game for that. Well, following quick on the heels from Crucible, Siege of Vicksburg, that will be the 14th through 16th of October. Vicksburg in Mississippi. And it will be a good chance for them to change venues, have the casino hotel. I've already got a bunch of vendors signed up, a bunch of events that are going to be there. I know there's a Blood Bowl tournament. Don't know if there's a Flames tournament or not, but should be a bunch of gamers there. Please come down, join us, and have fun. Following on from that, Millennium Con, Round Rock, Texas. Casey will be there with bells on in a French maid outfit, 10 to 13 November. So, Casey, got any specific plans for that event?
You know, it's actually impressive. I was just talking to the organizer of it, and right now they have the most games signed up they've ever had. And it's not by just like 3 or 4. It's probably by about 2 dozen. So I think everybody's
Is that because the new Magic Pack just released and everyone wants to play that?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it might have to do with finally people are over COVID.
Oh, okay,
But,
okay.
So
Carcassonne released a new expansion. There's a new Settlers of Catan expansion out. Okay, sorry. No.
It'll be a good time. It always is. Great convention there, right outside of Austin, Texas. I will definitely be there. I'll probably be doing some stuff in the Warlord booth. I'll maybe run some demos, but I'm definitely have a narrative game kind of cooking on the books. I'm just trying to figure out a really good slot right now because I don't want to pick one. Like Friday and Saturday evenings are completely packed already, so
Right,
I don't want
right.
to compete
Those
with
are
that.
always big
So
ones,
you know
yeah.
what? We might do some breakfast tacos and Bloody Marys on like a Friday morning.
Nice.
So just
nice.
stand by, and probably by the next cast, I'll be able to give you the exact details on it and what we're gonna do.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. I will not be making it there. I'll probably be several drinks in at some vacation spot celebrating, 10 November, Marine Corps birthday. And then recovering from the hangover so I can drink again on 11 November, Veterans Day. So anyway, y'all have fun out there. Wish I was going to be there, but I'm not. And then the next event we have on the schedule, kind of a break for a while. There may be some more things popping in the January, February timeframe, but March 22 to 26, Schaumburg, Illinois, Adepticon. Questions? Be there. The Renaissance is already sold out. I think the Hyatt's getting sold to close to sold out. So figure out where you're going to stay. If you're like us, you'll stay off property and just schlep over there. It's only a mile drive. But there's a lot of options for places to stay. They usually open up some more hotels a couple months in. And the events should be finalized by the end of next month. And then signups obviously are in December. So we'll be planning on running Blood Red Skies. We will probably be co-podcasting with those schleps over at No Dice, No Glory, putting up with them, and Mitch Reed and all of his stinkiness. So we'll be hanging out, talking a lot of different wargaming stuff, a lot of different miniatures gaming, and trying to go around and at least cover what everyone else is seeing. All right. Any other events people know about on the podcast that you guys wanted to talk about? I know there's like a one-off con in Jacksonville in October, but I know, Brett, you're going to be busy. You can't make it down to that one. Anything else from the masses? Cool.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. I made the mistake of going out to tabletop events and looking at the long list, and it just kind of depressed me because most of them were up in the Midwest and Northeast, and so I realized there weren't any real good wintertime cons down here. So, whatever. We've already had our fun at NashCon, and I'm not going to Hurricon. So, all right, let's talk about what we've seen around the community. The UK had a good tournament. Ken had 4 people, including himself, out there. I know that's kind of weird when we say that's a good tournament, but you got to realize it's a return to a UK tournament scene. So obviously, kudos to Ken for going out, I believe, getting that all set up in a really nice facility. I mean, I looked at that gaming area, and it was nicer than any hobby store game area I'd ever seen. It looked like it belonged to have cubicles in it and people in office space writing their TPS reports. So it looked way too comfortable. So thanks, Ken. Appreciate you doing that. Hopefully the UK scene will start taking off here now that COVID restrictions are eased. And there's a lot of other gaming going on. I mean, I saw, let's see, there was the Prince of Wales fight off Quanton that the guys out of Poland had done, and that looked really good. Beautiful model. I think, what do we guess that was? A 1/600 scale Prince of Wales, something like that?
It looked amazing.
Or maybe even bigger. Yeah, I guess it had to be bigger. But yeah, that looked really nice. So a lot of cool gaming going on, and then a lot of pickup games we've seen people's photos of. So that's always good. But even better when you can get your local gaming group together and get 2 or 3 other people who may not be Blood Red Skies experienced in there. Any other cool games you guys have seen or things people have thrown in the Blood Red Skies ready room that really kind of caught your eye?
I've noticed an uptick in activity. I think it's just that time of year starting to get fall. Obviously, it's not getting cooler here, but everybody usually it's a lot easier to hobby, go into
Yeah,
the
it's
garage.
it's freaking hot here in Alabama again. So I don't know what you people in Texas did. How you blew all your hot air up here.
You've
It's now
seen though,
freaking
you've
warm.
definitely seen an uptick in activity, and I've seen a lot of great
Yeah.
painted planes, and just people playing and having fun. So anytime someone's like, "Oh, well, that game's dead," yeah, no, it's not.
Yeah, it's like we we're talking about a couple nights ago. It's just kind of funny how the game isn't dead. People aren't necessarily playing it when we want to play it at a convention, but the game is far from dead, which is good. I think there's a lot of challenges ahead for Blood Red Skies. There's a lot of other games that right now are competing for people's interests. There's a lot of other really, really cool miniatures games out there and games that are being released. So I think it's going to be an uphill battle for Blood Red Skies. But the good thing is there's at least a strong player base out there. Brett, what have you seen that's kind of inspired you recently?
Well, we were talking about it a little bit before we started recording, but Plane Printer, man, they've been cranking stuff out, and just saw that what is a ship model out.
Yeah.
Might be a nice target.
We got a nice target model out there, so that will be good. I don't know if we're gonna. I guess we'll have to start printing target models. There you go, Casey.
That's fine. I mean, after those float planes, I'm excited to see what he does next because those things turned out good.
Yeah. I'm still holding out for my my late '50s jets, so we'll see what we get. Steve, what have you seen around the interwebs that's inspired you?
I've just been lurking on the modern 28 millimeter miniature sites. I've just really been seriously lurking on that, and but I did notice, to go along with what Casey said, the uptick in activity. It looks like there's a lot of new names. It's not just people that have been playing Blood Red Skies going back into it for the winter. It looks like there's a lot of new people. So I don't know if that's kind of midway sets getting out there more or what the deal is, but it looks like a lot of new faces too. Kind of cool. New people in happy hour on Friday. So
that's good.
It's good.
Yeah, I was busy doing something, washing my hair, trimming my toenails. Don't know what. Couldn't make it to happy hour. But glad to see there's a lot of new names in the ready room, and I'll make the pitch. There's a lot of people I know that are joining that are kind of lurking. So if you're lurking and you're listening, do not be afraid of throwing out your airplanes. We've seen everything from amazingly painted airplanes to ones that look like I painted them. Well, because I did paint them, so they're terrible. But throw what you've done out there, and you're going to find that the ready room is actually, believe it or not, when Ken and I aren't arguing and throwing spears at each other, a really friendly place. And so everyone's going to be really encouraging of whatever work you do, whatever airplanes you like, and however you get them painted up, whether it's historical or not. We haven't seen any 40K Spitfires lately, Steve, nor have we seen any googly-eyed ones. I'm kind of disappointed. You and Trevor haven't been doing your hard work.
No, but I do have a whole bunch of aircraft painted up that I did decals for a different version of the aircraft, but I'm putting them all on the late model version of the aircraft, so that could ruffle some feathers.
Oh,
We'll see how
geez,
that
there you
goes.
go. You just heretic. Burn. Oh, well, that's good. All right. Well, so let's keep moving on just so we can get to tonight's real topic, talking about lists and talking about the lists we're going to use to smash face everybody else at our own event because we're those kind of jerks. Wait, no, that's not how Lead Pursuit does business. But is there anything specific that you three are working on? I know, Casey, I saw a bunch of prints. As you were cheating on me, printing MATVs in 28 millimeter, you little fuck, bastard. Just leaving that in the background of the photo. You're a jerk. I hate you. If I see a 28 millimeter frickin' little bird, I'm driving to Texas and I'm just punching you in the face.
Challenge accepted.
I could just wait till Crucible. What am I waiting for? Yeah.
Yeah.
So no little birds, nothing cool. Just show me printed airplanes. What have you been building?
So I'm gonna kind of dial this back a little bit. So I've been playing, the Spitfires, the 109s, the 190s, P38s, P47s. But when I like to make a new list, and even with this games, and this goes for any historical game, I want to try and find something I don't know about because it usually sees me finish the project because I'm researching it, I'm getting hyped, I'm getting excited. Italian planes, they look cool. God, I'm sure some were good, most were garbage. but they've just really got a hook on me, and especially with Plane Printer, and Rockworks has some too, but them putting them out, I'm like, you know what? Let's do an Italian list. So kind of been researching Italian planes, been printing out some. They've turned out great. Some 520s. What else was there? The 2002, 202, 205s, and I think there was one other one. What was it? Oh, the 2005.
Yeah,
So-
there's some cool looking Italian planes. There are a few dogs.
Yeah, they look like sports cars, like flat
Well,
sports
all of
cars.
them except there's a handful that look like a beer can with like a Spitfire tail stuck on the end of it. But most of them actually look pretty cool. And ironically, other than the poor quality trait, actually perform pretty well in the game. And we'll
Yeah,
talk
so
about mitigating traits later.
Yeah, so that's what I've been really trying to get around is how big, and we'll go into this like you said, but how much of an impact is poor quality? Is that going to set me up for failure right at the very first of the game?
No.
And so that's what we're
Sources
talking
say
about.
no.
So what I've been looking at is especially the 2005, where you got 3 firepower,
Yep.
8 speed, great climb, rapid roll, rough ride. Now, how big of a deal is rough ride going to be?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there we go. That's another thing. At 39
Oh, wait.
points, though.
Who in this group has been beat by me flying MiGs? Okay, yeah, end of story. Yeah, exactly.
Brett
So Rough Ride isn't
yeah.
that big of a deal.
Yeah. So
I mean, it is, but it's not a game ender. It's you just got to mitigate it.
Hey, remind me
roll
again.
with
Tell me again what Rough Rider does.
So Rough Ride, you have to take a maneuver, or you have to take a pilot skill check. Maneuver check when you burn advantage to maneuver and then shoot.
yeah, the plane can only shoot
Rough
this
ride.
turn if it passes a maneuver test first.
Yep.
I
So-
found that
that's,
very frustrating with MiGs a couple of
It
times.
can be frustrating with MiGs, and I think to a question we were asked last night by someone that interviewed Casey and I, or last night or night before, whenever. I think that bit us a lot more when we were inexperienced BRS players, and our only trick up our sleeve was to fly behind somebody, turn around, burn advantage, turn 180 degrees, and try to shoot them and tail them. As we got better at the game, we realized we didn't need to do that. So all of a sudden, Rough Ride became less impactful, if that's my big word of the night, to our ability to knock the enemy down and shoot them.
Yeah,
It's a pretty
so-
sweet stat line for 39 points on that.
Yeah, it is.
2005.
It's-
I
so
think
it's-
Brett and I have been like kicking around Italians for like 2 years now, thinking they're like
But
the
just
most
no one's ever pulled the
meta
trigger.
force
Yeah.
in the game. Like even the G55 822 with tight turn and the FU great climb card, right?
Well, and I'm going to call it. I'll tell you what
Crazy.
scares people off about Italians: the paint job. That is hard. It's not an easy. They're not an easy force to paint unless you want to paint them like baby poop green
See,
and just
I'm
leave it at that.
I take the family to Olive Garden. You know what? A couple glasses of wine. I'll
You're
knock
all
those
ready
things
to paint
out in 2
Italians.
nights, yeah. So that's where I'm at right now, trying to build
Yeah.
a list off Italians.
Hey,
Yeah,
Steve,
yeah.
I can see you doing some work with the 205 because it's so cheap and poor quality. It's not that big of a deal, I don't
Yeah,
think.
I mean, we've talked about the 205 for a while. The 822 again, it's like that same Spitfire
I
Mark
think
V
the 205
line.
is the sweet spot, and we'll see how everyone's list comes out because I could be totally misinterpreting it, but I think the 205 is the sweet spot of Italian airplanes. Now, of course, for the record, I said that about IAR 80s, and IAR 80s did not sweep the Adepticon tournament. But I think in the hands of a skilled player, both of those airplanes can be dangerous. Both of them can lull you into a sense of security as well, because you think, I've got all the cards I need, I got all the skills, and then somebody outmaneuvers you a lot.
How does that 205 compare to your Spitfire at 32 points, Steve?
I was looking, I believe the Spitfire 5B, I'm trying to pull up right, I think that's 36 points. But it's an 822 or a 722, I think. Yes, 5B 722 at 32. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it would be. I don't think the poor quality is even an issue, right? And like Casey was saying, with that 2005, that third firepower, like I've been trying to work in a 3 firepower plane for a long time with the 190 or something like that. I think Casey might be surprising some people with that 2005.
I'm going to take a segue into tactics here for a second and just address it because we're talking about it for poor quality. The thing you have to be careful of, because I've watched Brett do it and people fall into it, is that if Brett or whoever's got the denial list has clear skies as one of their theater cards, and they opt to not place either of their clouds, then you're really finding yourself kind of painted in a corner. Now, you can kind of mitigate that by having a reasonable placement of the clouds you put. Don't put them in the center of the board. Put them closer to one of your board edges. So even if you're knocked down to one cloud left on the board, at least when you jump in it, people can't get behind you. So I don't want to say this is getting to a level of gamesmanship with where you put the clouds, but you got to realize if that's your one trick for getting over poor quality, then recognize that you got to be smart about that. Likewise, there are traits or there are tables out there that have radar support. So if you're facing somebody that shows up with an Italian list, grab the side that has radar support. Do not allow them to do that, because that's yet one more way they can mitigate poor quality.
There's a weather card, and I'm not sure if it's in this tournament, that allows you to place up to two clouds. Oh gosh.
So that would be bad weather, as I recall, and I have to literally open up the files that I hadn't opened up because, I said I wasn't going to talk about that stuff yet, and here I am. So we'll take a segue. We'll play some music while Doug is actually pulling everything up.
I'm just thinking, Casey, if you have, you might want cloud shenanigans. So if that is an option when you come to the table and you got to pick, your weather card or whatever, if you win the roll off or whatever, you might be thinking, oh man, I should get that so you can place extra clouds. That might help you deploy and get out of that.
Yeah, that would really help starting at disadvantage, just to be able to get some clouds close.
I agree with Doug. I'm trying to think of where you're most vulnerable with that, and that might be the only.
I think the lack of clouds is your biggest vulnerability. Now, what I'll say is I'll pull up the wording for the cards if I can pull this.
So
up
for those
here.
who aren't familiar, remember the radar support. It's you make a maneuver test for each friendly plane, and any that scores success automatically begins the game with advantage, and that's during deployment. So that would completely mitigate it if I could somehow get my hands on that.
Yes. So
that's in there.
We'll come back to that. So the add clouds is, drum roll please. Let's see here. Yes, bad weather. I got it right for once. Add up to 2 cloud markers of your choice. All squadrons also start the game with 1 boom chit. So there's you're kind of kicking yourself in the dick on that one with a boom chit. But if you have something like drop tanks, then you know what? Not a big deal. So does bad weather show up? Bad weather is not listed as any one of our weather skies or weather cards for the current tournament, because bad weather I think came out later than airstrike. But where you really want to watch is if you're playing table 2 European winter and you're an Italian, be careful. You have to be the attacker, because if you're not, then the attacker shows up and they get clear skies and radar support. So they've now doubly cheated you. Battle of Britain. Okay, so if you grab radar support as the defender, the attacker is going to throw clear skies at you and get rid of some clouds. Desert is the one where you're screwed either way because both sides have clear skies. Just pick however you want to screw over your buddy. And I recommend usually taking the attacker because it has heavy flak presence, because heavy flak presence always saves me when I suck. But like I said, the problem with clear skies, you could end up with no clouds on the table because your opponent could throw 2 of theirs away and then pull your 2 that were put on the table. Does that mean we're going to change the number of clouds in tournaments? Maybe. Maybe we are. Maybe we're going to go up to 6. I think there's another discussion there for if you start going up to 6 cloud markers, you need to go to a larger mat size, and we play everything from 3x3 to 4x6. So there's a couple decisions that have to be made at the end of this tournament season for what we want to do next year, and we're open to the discussion. So don't think that it is set that we're not going to change anything for next year. If people say more clouds, then tell us you want larger mats, and we'll play larger mats.
There's a whole lot to like there, Casey, between that 205 and the G55. I've got my eye on that G55 too, because I like to play the BF 109G. You get the same stat line and the same price, but you trade away great dive for tight turn with the G55. So you're getting great climb and tight turn. I think you could probably do some pretty neat stuff with that. I think that might be a pretty cool combo, and it's a rare combo. I don't think tight turn is combined with great climb in many stats. I think there might be a Japanese plane that has that, but that might be about the only one I know of.
Yeah, I think there's also a Spitfire that has that, a late model, or is that great climb, or is it heavy hitter and tight turn? I forget. But either way.
What do you think about that, Steve? That combination.
I don't know. I think, man, I don't know. I'm on the fence.
You kind of prefer a single trait plane. I think one vulnerability I see with the G55 is somebody can come along with, you know how I like to play I Know Your Type and just deny you using that trait. That might...
Yeah, the G55, again, that 822, the tight turn and the great climb. There is a Spitfire that has the same thing. I think it's the 9, like Doug was saying. I don't know. The thing with tight turn is when I use tight turn, I'm almost always pairing it with defensive tactics, right? So then when you only get half as many, it kind of limits that pairing with the defensive tactics card. But I mean, great climb and tight turn are two. I mean, they're probably the two best traits in the game because one changes what you can do, and the other one changes what your opponent can do. At least
I'm going to go ahead and throw a spoiler out there and say, because Brett's choosing his list, and we'll talk about it in a second. I think he's going to kind of pull the rug out from people because I think there's a trait that's better than tight turn. Now it's not as flexible as tight turn, but I think it is better. Anyway, so
blasphemy.
let's Oh, go ahead. Yeah, blasphemy is not possible. Yeah, there's 2 cheater cards in this game. Anyway, so let's segue real quick because we're getting way knee deep into the aircraft and the list, which is fine because that's the topic for tonight. But rather than some wishful thinking, let's do some analysis real quick. So let's talk about what people are specifically thinking about playing. So, Brett, I know you have math hammered this and trait hammered this, and and kind of worked your way through what you think the possibilities are. You were all on board for 262s until I rained on your parade and told you couldn't have jets. So sorry. Maybe we'll revisit that next year. What are your thoughts for this year?
Well, just to preface, the lists I've played before weren't anything super sophisticated. It's just the planes I had, so I was just kind of trying to. And
that was 109Gs were your last couple lists, right?
Yeah. I think when I was kind of looking at the first list I ever made, I even made a list with the 110 just because I have a bunch of those. I was like, what can I make happen with these? And I like the look of them and stuff. And anyway, so I settled on the 109G and I made a list that I've had a lot of fun with. This time around, I was thinking, and I think I might have mentioned this on a previous episode, that maybe it would be kind of fun to just clear the deck and make a whole new list, right? And that's where I started thinking about jets and stuff. And I was thinking, ooh, man, maybe I was kind of thinking Jet 1 might be like super great climb. So I might have some fun with that. But then I realized
pretty much is.
Yeah, since it's not on the packet, I'm obviously not doing that. So kind of went back to the drawing board a little bit. But I have zeros. I have a bunch of zeros painted and stuff. And I was talking to our good friend Leslie, and he's a big fan of the zero. We had him on for our zero spotlight episode, and
so what do you call someone like that? Are they a Niponophile, Japanophile, zerophile?
Yeah, I don't know. He's I think he's my corner coach though, because I was asking what he thought, and he had some pretty good ideas, and it really is a departure for how I usually play. But A6M2 is what I'm thinking about doing.
Yeah, I think the M2 will play very well. I mean, we know vulnerable is going to be a tough uphill battle. That's always the case. But no stalling, I think, is epic when it's used correctly. So I think there's definitely some capability for, I don't want to say shenanigans, but when you move between 1 and your minimum speed, which for an M2 is 4, so you move between 1 and 4 inches. I lump that under shenanigans.
Right. So I'm leaning heavy towards some specific tactics. I mean, a specific doctrine and some ace stuff. I'm thinking of going ace heavy, and check it out. Perhaps even a named ace. Say it isn't
Maybe.
so.
Perhaps. If only there was a named ace or two they just released.
Yeah. So anyway, I have this the one Japanese ace I have, Saburo Sakai, kind of classic, right? Even not even a new one, but with his combination of aggressive and I think he has Comeback King.
Yeah, man. I'm going to say it again. Aggressive is so powerful when used correctly, and I'm not trying to say aggressive is broken because I don't think it is because I beat 2 players that both had aggressive, but aggressive just when you use it right, it's almost like a denial list kind of feeling to your opponent. You're like, how is this possible? How are you literally taking my advantaged guy, making him neutral, and you're shooting him in the same phase?
We were talking a little bit maybe last time about sort of that ace forward concept.
Right, right.
And I think maybe I can make this work with Saburo Sakai and maybe one more ace and a couple of veterans.
Yeah.
And split it up like that. It's a small list, so probably high risk, high reward kind of thing. But with deep pockets, I'm thinking maybe playing a little bit of the Outlast with the deep pockets and with the high pilot skill and the high agility on that A6M2, getting some dodge action. And that also...
Well, the nice thing is deep pockets allows you to make a mistake. So it's not like a lot of times those high-risk lists when you're at 4 airplanes, you make one mistake and it's either one boom chit or you get yourself shot down as 2 boom chits and now you're an aircraft less. So... I think that gives you a little bit of depth there.
Yeah, another airplane, like we were talking a little bit about that G55, I might consider aggressive tactics with that and just try to go like super aggressive. But with this one, I'm thinking definitely defensive tactics for the doctrine. And, maybe that second ace, giving him something like tough or cool under fire.
I think cool under fire is one of those because... One of the vulnerabilities, pardon the pun, is vulnerable. So even if you dodge, you're still sucking up boom chits, and you're sucking them up at a higher rate because you have vulnerable. So the enemy's getting an extra die. So in my mind, if you're going to take defensive ace traits, taking something that can ditch a boom chit is probably the choice there because that's going to be your weakness with vulnerable. Is that the enemy isn't going to kill you, but they're just going to keep racking up boom chits.
I was looking at some other ace skills that might go specifically well with the no stalling, and there's some that kind of jumped out at me, and I just kind of got to look at them a little harder to see if they outweigh, aggressive or cool under fire. But the ones I'm thinking about that might pair well specifically with no stalling might be acrobatic, hammerhead, or killer instinct. I think those allow some kind of crazy big turn. I'd have to go back and pull them up, but I was kind of going through and just...
Well, acrobatic is the one that I like the most because really, if you make your pilot test and you're going to succeed as an ace, I mean, you're rolling 5 dice at that point. You go from a 45-degree turn to a 180. So every turn, you're basically doing what you would do for burning advantage. And you pair that with something like no stalling. Now you literally are moving incrementally painful small amount, pivoting right where you need to for the enemy. And even if you're doing something as crazy and counterintuitive as moving forward and pivoting right in front of them, the fact is you're doing that as an advantaged fighter. You're not burning up any advantage. So now you're in front of them, you're advantaged. He's going to overshoot you with his first move, and then you're going to tail him immediately.
That's kind of what I liked about that one. I was thinking it would just give me the chance to kind of a free pilot action, right? I get to burn advantage without burning advantage. I get to maneuver without burning advantage. That's all. So
yeah,
really.
and Hammerhead is along similar lines because you do it when you're climbing for advantage after a min distance move. So you really can't, I guess, pair that with no stalling unless that'd be an interesting FAQ question. Is using no stalling, it's less than a min distance move, so does it count? I don't know. But then you take a maneuver test and, if you succeed, then you do a 180. So you're doing a 180 at the end of your turn after you've burned no advantage, you've done everything else, and you literally fly past the enemy, pass your maneuver test, and do a 180 so you're in position to shoot them next turn. Yeah, I think that's useful. It's different than what we're used to because you're used to getting back there and tailing the person. But as we saw in our tournament at NashCon, sometimes it's better to get back there and be at a high advantage state because then you will have the opportunity to act at the first part of the turn.
I was thinking of Killer Instinct because I was imagining with no stall, really the aggressive play there is to stay just outside of 1 inch from somebody to get behind, and then I get to shoot again the next activation, presuming, I have higher, if it's an ace, right, he's probably going to be higher skill level than anybody, activating before almost anybody else, right? So you're shooting a guy that's less than pilot skill 5, and the next turn, if he's not shot down, you get kind of a free shot at the start of your activation, right? So I thought Killer Instinct might be handy because I'd be super close potentially.
Yeah, it's kind of like Buzzsaw for an ace.
Yeah, it does something like gives you a critical or something.
It's a critical. If you're within 3 inches, any hit becomes a crit. So
I don't know though.
Didn't give you a bump like heavy hitter.
Yeah, I don't know that any one of those really outweighs aggressive or cool under fire. So might need to explore that a little bit. But they jumped out at me a little bit when I was thinking about specifically the traits with that aircraft. What do you think about? Is there any difference between cool under fire and tough? The way I read the cards, it's the exact same thing.
Okay, so normally I don't play tough, so I've got to go look at it right now. Boom shit is they're exact same. So literally, if you dodge, you get rid of the boom shit, and the wording is just different between the two. So tough, cool under fire, same. The one that I normally have paired when I've had a cool under fire ace out there, let me scroll back down here in my list, is True Grit, because True Grit puts a little different spin on it, and that's when you actually fail your dodge, and then it goes into this whole level of you make a pilot skill roll. If you pass, then not only do you not lose advantage, if you then get a critical success, you get rid of the boom chit. So to me, True Grit is kind of the gold standard of saving yourself. Tough and cool under fire are ones that allow you to basically just get rid of boom chits as long as you pass your dodge.
That's cool. That's pretty much what I'm thinking about for my list. If we get to talking about...
Okay, so you're going to field Oscars with defensive tactics and and a pilot skill 2 swarm list. Got it.
Yeah. I was looking at, for a minute, the KI-84, but I think, the points are just tough, and it's different play altogether, but it kind of got my attention, too. The one thing I don't like about the A6M2 is going to be firepower 1. That always makes me a little frustrated sometimes.
Yep.
And, of course, vulnerable. It is what it is. So I'm counting on, the high pilot skill and the high agility and some of those potential ace traits we talked about giving me a get-out-jail-free card if I get caught sleeping. Caught napping.
Exactly. Well, Steve, what are you thinking about? What are your what's on your list?
So this is actually really interesting. It actually seems like Brett and I have done a role reversal in the list this time. I am going with P38s. It looks like the J and the L are statted basically exactly the same. In the master list, it says 61 should be 59 points, but I'm taking whichever one is 59 points. Taking the minus 10, what is it, the agile heavy fighter rule. So that'll get them down to 49 points. So I'm going to take 6 P38s with 2 2s, 2 3s, and 2 4s. Checking in at 594 points. Think I'm on the fence.
594.
Did you just go 94 points over?
He just went 94 points over.
What?
He's enough, He's in the 600 point. He's in a totally different bracket.
Yeah. He's drunk on his own.
What a great.
Have you been sniffing the resin again?
What an amazing intro you did, Doug. That was incredible. I don't do these masks.
It's perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, do you see what I deal with? Please feel some sympathy for me. This is what I deal with on this podcast.
For some reason, I had in my brain that it was 600 points. What is wrong with me? All right, so I guess we're taking 5 airplanes. Let me update my spread. Let me update my spreadsheet.
Yeah, I can't pay for shit like this. This is amazing. I can't buy this kind of comedy.
I'm taking 5 P-38s at 49 points with 1, 2, 3 threes, and 1 ace.
Someone check his math.
So I think that's
can't do that.
495 points.
Excellent.
And I'm thinking about taking, I don't know, I think I could absorb some boom chits with the heavy fighter rules there. So I don't think I'm
Yeah,
going to take
yeah,
drop
you can.
tanks. I think I'm actually might take gun packs on 1 or 2 of them just to kind of try that out.
Weird. Yeah, didn't see that one coming. Okay.
And I don't know. For equipment, I was thinking about gun packs, and for the doctrine, the tried and true dive away, just because it's so awesome for getting out of trouble. Yeah, I don't know, something different, something that I typically wouldn't play. But honestly, with the P-38, I don't know how to play it any other way than using that dive away and just maximizing that great dive as much as possible to hopefully cover some, some range on the table.
What are the stats on that P-38? Because I'm wondering.
822.
His 822, which is what scares me about losing that 1 agility for gun packs, because now you become a agility 1.
Heavy hitter and great dive.
Yeah. So you'd get a boost there. You'd be firepower 3 heavy hitter, which is that's no joke, because that's 4 dice in close plus a crit.
And that's what I'm thinking with that 16, with the great dive and that 16 speed. Like, you'd be going 16 inches then, right? Because you're doubling that speed. It should be pretty easy to kind of close that range and just say, hey, man, I got to get some, I'm going to risk it with some head-on shots. I'm going to risk it.
Well, and that's what I saw with Rhonda with the Speed 8 F4Us, actually Speed 7 because they were carrying rockets at the time. But the fact is, great dive on a fast airplane like that really surprises you how far it moves across the board.
Anything better than anything 7 or better, it'll get out and go.
Yeah, and I mean, you're even shooting at deployment at that point. Right, so you're shooting at first deployment turn.
So that's the interesting thing, because now you're out there, and for you, that would be a 16-inch move. So you had to be 18 inches away. You're already,
inside.
You're already
hitter.
in a heavy hitter. Yeah, you're inside heavy hitter. So
It's kind of like a really fast BF-110 without the tail gun, though. When you do gun packs,
so it's like a BF-110, but it doesn't suck, and it's not as slow as it, and it wasn't made by the Germans. But other than that, it's just like a BF-110.
Is it
Do they cost anything to take?
Gun packs are free.
Free.
Yeah.
Free. But it's that -1 agility, -1 speed. So if you take that to really give you the boost, you're only going to be speed 7. That's fine, because now you're 14, but you're outside a heavy hitter at that point.
The other thing with gun packs, though, is you don't have to take it on all of your aircraft.
That's true.
So
and
you can
theoretically,
I was thinking, like, maybe if I throw the gun packs on the 2 higher skilled pilots, that way when you're doing your dodges, you're not, like, if you put it on a 2, I don't know. It was just a thought.
What about opening shot?
Different.
Yeah, because it gives you the 12-inch.
And just because it's fast, maybe just normal dive would be enough to get you. I don't know. What do you
The issue with opening shot is that the one that only shoots with just the firepower?
Exactly.
Yeah, so
you
opening
make that
shot
trade.
is kind of
you're only
like,
firepower, but you're. I
12
mean,
inches.
if you had gun packs, then that. Well, no, because you're still not going to be close enough, so it doesn't matter. So
will you be firepower 4 with gun packs with that aircraft?
Yes.
So firepower 4 at 12
Well,
inches.
no, if he's within heavy hitter, he'd be firepower 4. Sorry, that was if he's within 3
yeah.
inches. So
never mind.
He'd be firepower 3 at range, 4 with heavy hitter.
Firepower 3 doesn't suck though, and 12
No, it
inches.
doesn't. I mean,
Oh.
and
Now,
Brett's thinking about a lot about 12
can
inches right now.
you can use opening shot. You can get within range before you use opening shot. You don't have to. It doesn't say you have to use it on the first turn, right?
Right. Yeah. No.
So
no.
you can
Opening
hold
shot,
onto it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's a gunnery test. You could use the whole game.
Yeah. There's no prescription about that. But the problem is, and it's the nice thing is you're a heavy hitter airplane, so you get a bonus card for that. So you're going to keep regenerating that. That's almost to me worth worth not deploying in a traditional right at 18 inches, because it allows you to shoot at 12 inches. So screw it. Deploy further away to give yourself a sanctuary from them attacking you. And then when they move, use your ace. I would actually pair that with aggressive.
My thing is,
never mind. You can't pair. Yeah, no, you can't. Sorry. So
I
pair
would
that with
love
aggressive.
to take an ace, but I never remember to use the freaking card. So like the amount of times
but you're going to remember this. You're going to remember it because you're going to take aggressive, and the point is he's not going to use opening shot, but he's going to move within 9 inches. He's going to auto somebody, and then everybody else who has a sanctuary because they're out at like 24 inches where the enemy can't get to them. They're going to move in range, and they're going to be inside 12. They're only going to shoot with firepower, but because you've got gun packs, you're firepower 3.
Oh,
then you've got that's no slouch.
I'm back up to 594 points.
Well, F minus.
No, I don't know. So the doctrine, because typically, like I said, I'm like taking something that has a tight turn or rapid roll, and then I'm taking defensive tactics, right? So the doctrine card and the equipment card with this is kind of like new territory to me because I've kind of been on automatic. But honestly, I think we've talked a bunch of times about this, and to me, the building of the list is actually almost more fun than the playing of the tournament. Like
I hate the list building part. I'm sorry. I just really don't like it. I think because there's so many one-off combos, I guess is what I don't like about it. But what I'll say about opening shot, because you're a heavy hitter airplane, this is going to allow you to threaten a lot of people that think they're out of range.
Yeah.
Because you can shoot at 12 inches, so they'll be like, "Oh, I'm out here at 9 inches, and I'm neutral." And you're going to freaking shoot them. And because you're a heavy hitter, you automatically get that back. Now, you're great dive, so you're going to lose half of it. Uh-oh, Brett's going to remind me of something. What I F up?
Oh, no. I just card combos are running through my head, so when I want to chime in when I get a chance.
Well, I was just going to say, you're going to only have half as many heavy hitters, but the point is you probably miss a lot of shooting opportunities. So those heavy hitters that you wouldn't be using at 3 inches anyway, you're going to use that to keep opening shot. And you're going to use that to take a longer range shot. So I think opening shot is actually better later in the game because people think they're out of range, and it turns out they aren't.
Now, is top cover an official available card now? The one that lets you start in high cover?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because I can't.
And I think that's a great scenario. Oh, this is going to sound bad. I think it's a great scenario breaker because we play scenario 1, which doesn't have top cover. So literally, unless you take top cover, or I think there's an ace trait that does the same thing, that there's no other way to get into high cover.
I mean, I could see that being really devastating, right? Coming in high cover advantage with a speed 8 great dive airplane with heavy hitter. I feel like that could really be something like, man, you throw one of those guys in high cover and man, now you're really messing somebody up if you get them there in the right time.
Yeah. Which is, I think, a reason for us to consider changing to scenario 2 next year to give people the option to be able to put aircraft in high cover.
So either way, I'm going multi-engine just because I had to try it. P-38s with points yet to be determined. We'll figure out. And
we suck.
And apparently Doctrine and Ace card, basically my entire
also
list.
To be determined. You have no idea what your list is.
Yeah,
exactly. We just basically ripped up your list. Nice work.
I'm getting used to that. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Brett, you had a point. Combos.
Oh, well, we were just talking about some high cover shenanigans. Now you had the big wing too, so instead of just doing a single element, you could do a whole squadron in top cover. I mean, high cover. In high cover.
So, and this is showing my own ignorance here because I'm going to have to go ahead and open up the. We have to open up airstrike here to see how, because this is what's weird with scenario 1. When scenario 1 doesn't have high cover in it, what happens when you put your whole force into high cover?
Well, what's funny is the big wing specifies regardless of scenario.
Yeah, no. I get that. I'm just curious what the victory conditions and everything else change, because I jokingly call it, it's like the guy that put his entire army into outflank and then the dude put scouts or put his bikes all around the entire board.
can only
The poor
take
guy lost because he was because the
only
entire army was in outflank.
one doctrine card and one equipment, right? In the GOE
Correct.
pack?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So let me go. Look.
This has come up in our campaign. So the way the rules read with bringing in high cover, your high cover aircraft come in at the very last thing, the very last action of the turn. So
The
not
first
the
turn,
start
exactly.
of the next turn, right? So
Correct.
you, like, we've had that come up where if you get theoretically boomed out, but you bring those planes in at the end of that turn, then those planes are on before the turn is over, so you haven't exceeded your max boom shits yet.
I think in Blood Red Skies, a lot of times we overlook what the actual victory conditions are, and people just like line up opposite of each other and don't actually think their way through it. So let's do this here real quick. All right, so let's read this. So for scenario 1, game length scenario continues until all planes have been shot down or left the table. Victory is achieved by driving off the opposing squadrons via shot down planes accumulated boom chits. So I think the fact is, by being in high cover, you're on the table. I mean, you have a marker there. But let me see if the wording is different in scenario 2 that has high cover. So fighter sweep allows you to start in high cover, and what are its victory conditions? It says, oh no, its victory conditions are different. So it says victory is achieved by driving off the opposing squadron via shot down planes and accumulated boom chits. So there's a, rules as intended, rules as written kind of loophole there. 1 says left the table. 2 says has to be driven off. So that kind of, me as a TO, my call on that would be, if you have a high cover marker, you're on the table, you're in play in that sense, you're coming in. But I could see how somebody could say, no, you're not, because you're not on the table, you're just a marker.
I think
story
you're
is,
100% on the table with a high cover.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna probably
driven
switch to
off.
fighter sweep. Yeah, it's just in scenario 1 there's no high cover, so in scenario 1 everything is on the table. Therefore, you can use the wording shot down or left the table, because you could have left the battle area and failed your chance to return.
But it wouldn't matter if you put them on at the end of turn 1 anyway. Right? Like, it wouldn't matter.
If you're a rules as written dude, it would,
Because
they're not on the table.
Yeah, but the game ends at the end of a turn. The game never ends in the middle of a turn.
Oh yeah, so right. So if you brought them in, but I'm saying if you left the high cover marker,
if you brought them in as long as you got them in on turn 1,
as long as you got them in turn 1, you're good. Yeah, exactly. If you brought them in turn 1, you're good to go. I think the argument you're going to have from somebody is they won't let you keep them in high cover because that would, then they'd say, well, you don't have any forces on the board. I win scenario 1, because scenario 1 is such a canned, everybody's already on the board. Now let me read Big Game Hunters real quick. Oh, not Big Game. Sorry. It was not Big Game. What was it?
Big Wing.
Big Wing. Why is it not in the list?
Big Wing is
the Big Wing. Maybe it's under the Big Wing.
The Big Wing.
Yeah, the Big Wing. Yep, there you go. All aircraft selected squadron deployed as a single high cover marker, regardless of the scenario rules. Okay, so here's a couple good things. 1, unlike some scenarios that jam you where your enemy gets to place your high cover marker, this one, yeah, you get to place it, and the whole squadron is there. So the only problem is the single high cover marker. So everybody's got to come in at the same time. That's the only tactical problem I see to it.
He can only afford 2 planes anyway, so
Yeah, exactly.
Makes it super easy to block.
He's going to 794 points. Well, so I wouldn't say no. I don't think it makes it super easy to block, because, man, this is where you get in this weird scenario-driven thing. So if you looked at scenario 2, something that has high cover, you roll for your elements first, and then you still deploy everything in the order of disadvantaged, engaged, which is neutral or advantaged, and then high cover deploys last. So you still can't, in scenario 2, you can't jam somebody's high cover marker. But the problem is in scenario 1, when you pull your whole squadron into high cover, that kind of requires a TO to say, dude, your high cover markers are placed last in all the other scenarios. And I'm going to now check to see if I'm not making that up for like scenario 3. So scenario 3, in bounced, is there anyone in high cover? Nope, and nope. Yeah, so wait, hold on. Player being bounced, first element, the second element of ones you place in high cover with high cover marker placed on the table edge by the opposing player. That's bounced specifics.
Either way, too many rules, not taking that card.
Yeah, but I think with a reasonable TO, it could be very powerful. I think the difficulty becomes if you get somebody who wants to rules lawyer you about, hey, we're playing scenario 1, and scenario 1 says everybody has to be on the table, so you better be in by the end of the first turn. That's fine. Okay, got it. You can't play high cover shenanigans with that. Sorry. Continue.
Here's a question for you. So this might not apply to Steve's list because it sounds like he may not be able to afford an ace or whatever.
Steve doesn't have a list yet. He doesn't even have a point value.
Yeah, well, but you were talking about using defensive tactics, right? Or something? Maybe.
Not for me.
Oh, maybe it's just because
it's with the tight turn.
Yeah. So you've done it a bunch, I guess. Maybe I'm just. It's. What do you think about snapshot? If you've got like high firepower or high pilot skill, and you're able to, because of defensive tactics, do the whole like turn the turn your enemy's tailing shot into a deflection shot, and then next activation you've got a deflection shot, but with snapshot you got some kind of interesting things going on.
Yeah,
I don't know. Have you seen those two pair together well?
I don't know if so I was wondering if it's even practical to pull that off.
Well, the problem is defensive tactics has to be tripped by the enemy shooting at you. So unlike aggressive tactics, which is tripped at your activation, you're going to use defensive tactics to turn a tailing shot to a beam shot.
I guess it's the subsequent activation that I'm thinking of. So now we'll see.
Yeah, but you won't have.
I won't have a shot. Yeah.
Yeah, you won't have a shot. So
that's right.
That's the weird part of it is that. And I used to be a fan of defensive tactics. I've used it well, but I think because I've been flying tight turn capable aircraft, I've become just so wedded to aggressive tactics.
Would no stalling give you that ability? Because you can turn tight turn, but only move such a small distance that you get a.
Depends the range you're being shot at, but yeah, I see what you're saying is that you'd at least be able to make your 45-degree turn. If you had, you still can't do it because you would need to. Most of the time, no stalling does that because you make a 90-degree turn because you have aggressive tactics.
In a list like Steve's,
tactics, you wouldn't.
With maybe tail snapper would be a more maybe that would come into play more because we're thinking like. If you're close, firepower 4, and then double your firepower with tail snapper, that could be brutal.
Yeah, that's just outright no fun.
I mean, 6 dice maybe just for the 6-7 dice, I guess, something like that for just the firepower portion with tail snapper, and then pilot skill on top of that. That could be ugly. Yeah. 11 dice, something like that. Oof.
But there's a point of diminishing returns. Now I should bring up Steve's odds. And Steve, how many, 16 dice with no success.
Yeah, this is true. But you're right. Like once you get over, you don't get really bonuses for anything more than 2 hits, right? So like rolling 11 dice is kind of like,
So in my mind, I'm like,
it's all the same as 2
hits.
I
think like somewhere in the 8-9 dice regime is really kind of where the maximum sweet spot is. But I'd have to look at the math and see how much you're bumping when you go to 11 dice. Because that's a ludicrous amount of dice. So I like that. All right. Well, Casey, let's put you on the spot since I know you were not thinking blood red skies earlier in the evening. So we're going to put you on the spot and say, what'd you come up with?
I was actually just checking the furry report for Crucible just to make sure that we were going to be clear and okay for this, and it looks like we are good to go. So
define clear and okay that there's plenty of furries there, or there's no furries there.
No, we'll be good. Steve,
I mean,
you can come.
There's gonna what is it gonna be like Brett said last time?
I'm not gonna go over the. I'm not gonna put us over the quota.
Yeah. Well, my question is, isn't it by default a furry event? It's Crucible. There's gonna be Space Wolves there. Are Space Wolves anything other than Space Marine furries?
Are there different categories of furries? Like, if you're like, is there like a realistic furry, and then there's like crazy color furries that
Hey,
like fantasy
thanks for joining
furries?
us for the 97th episode of the Lead Pursuit podcast.
We were talking about furries.
Yeah. So back to what you're saying. No, I'm still kind of looking through doctrines. That's all. Just trying to pair them up. I don't usually take doctrine cards. I completely forget about them. How Steve forgets about his ace card. I forget about a doctrine card. So,
ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to audition for the Lead Pursuit podcast and you've actually played this game and know what you're talking about, we'd love to have you on the podcast. Oh, I'm sorry. Back to you, Casey.
If you have a 3D printer, it's a bonus.
Yeah, that's a bonus.
No, so I'm just kind of looking through there, but I really like Steve's idea. I like the thinking out of the box, something different.
Yeah, my problem is I don't do well to pick card shenanigans and then step back and find an airplane that fits those card shenanigans. This comes back to why I don't like list building. I kind of like saying, "Oh, that seems straightforward. Let me do that. Let me take that airplane in that combo." And I think right now I've been enjoying the Hurricane with the combo of robust and tight turn, knowing that I never have enough of each card. Especially when I'm on the ropes and I'm getting the crap shot out of me. There's never enough robust cards. But, I think sometimes finding a set of A skills and a doctrine that is going to pair well with a common trait, then kind of narrows your search a little bit. But I'll tell you, I'm still loving playing Hurricane 2, Speed 7, Agility 2, Firepower 1, that, whatever, laugh at my Firepower 1, but it's tight, turn, and robust. And with aggressive tactics, I'm making the cheater turns on you, and you're wondering how I'm shooting you. So what I'll say is, if I play, which I probably won't, but if I play, it will be Hurricane Mark II's double ace list, aggressive tactics, and aggressive for both of my aces. And why is that? Because I'm going to use both my aces to clean up the field and knock other people down, and shoot them if they have an opportunity, and then follow on be shot by the rest of my 5 aircraft team. So that should be 2 3s and a 2 and 2 5s, I believe. I believe that all works out with Hurricane Mark IIs. But anyway, so I kind of roll with that list. It worked out well at NashCon. I might fail miserably here at Crucible with it, but I think the combo of aces, multiple aces with aggressive, being able to outmaneuver and shoot. I know Brett has seen it a number of times when I've played. I think who was it that laughed at me for doing it and thought they were? It was actually Scott Atchison, but he was virtually playing through one of our new players, and I'll turn away because I know that aggressive tactics gives me that extra 45-degree bonus turn at the start. So then I'll turn back into you. Then I'll use tight turn, and I'm back where I want to be, outmaneuvering and shooting you. So we'll see how that works. Thoughts on aggressive?
It's strong. The aggressive tactics with that double turn really does change the angle, especially if you're not ready for it and you haven't played somebody who's used that card before. That really can throw you for a loop trying to defend against that, watching that double turn with the aggressive tactics.
Yeah, especially when it becomes that 90-degree turn right off the bat. So you think, there's no way they're going to get around and be able to shoot me. And then they throw that 90-degree turn in, and so here's the other FAQ question that a lot of times we've argued out. I'll say it here so everyone knows what my interpretation is. We talked about it again at NashCon to make sure that everybody in the game agreed on it, that aggressive tactics, by virtue of its wording, when it is played, it is played right at your activation. So aggressive tactics can actually give you a chance to turn that 45 and take a shot, because it literally says it is played on a friendly plane during its activation. The plane may make a bonus 45-degree turn before moving. Well, what's the turn before moving? Shooting. So we were saying that aggressive tactics could in fact be played before the first shoot phase, and then you could use it. Now, I know there's some disagreement about that. Maybe we'll have to go back to Andy, reread through the ready room. I have to do a search for aggressive tactics and see if there is a different interpretation.
That's a good hedge against I know your type, because I know your type won't turn that off. It'll just turn off the tight turn, but you'll still get that 45.
Exactly. So you still get that 45. And so it at least gives you an ability to do something tight turn-ish, early on in the phase. So for what it's worth. Any other holes to poke in my ideas of aggressive tactics and aggressive as my two ace traits?
I think it's a pretty cool list. Strong.
Yeah, we'll see. The firepower one always hurts. You never feel like you have enough dice. But that's kind of, that's the trade-off for being able to get a cheap airplane that I can put, aces into. But right now I'm clicking on the ready room, and I'm going to do my search for, let's type aggressive tactics.
What's your agility again?
2. So it at least means I don't suck up a million shots here. So let's see if anyone brought it up.
Yeah, I was going to say if you had agility 3, I'd say go with the gun packs on that one.
Oh, funny. They even brought up my discussion of ace skills versus bonus card where we talked about I know your type. So that whole question. All right, so...
Yeah, I mean, is aggressive the best ace card? Like, just flat out?
Right now, it's the way I
think
feel
it is, right?
it is. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just glomming onto it because it made me feel really uncomfortable because enemy aces kept outmaneuvering and shooting at me. All right, so back to the bigger, wider discussion at hand. All right, we've kind of hit everyone's lists. Didn't really have any listener questions that had come up recently about any of these tactics. But like everything else on the Lead Pursuit podcast, we know you all want to hear more about tactics, so please shoot us some of these questions and put them in the ready room. We'll have a little bit of a discussion there. Then we'll put all of us 4 idiots together and our lack of knowledge of the game, and we'll come up with an answer that is undoubtedly wrong, not what Andy Chambers thinks, and not defensible at all by reading the cards and what the wording is in plain English. But you know what? We'll talk about it. Any other tournament tactics things any of y'all want to discuss tonight?
I have one question real quick going up on it. So we're talking about the Italians and the poor quality. Would doctrine low altitude performance, would that help negate some of that?
So it will, but you obviously have the option, or I shouldn't say the option, you have to keep low altitude performance. So yes, it will help it, but not as much as just jumping into a cloud will.
Okay, that's what I
figured. So I think the answer is if you're low altitude performance, or if you're poor quality, deploy in the cloud. Now, if you want that as your doctrine as a backup, so that no matter what, if the enemy takes away all of your clouds, and then you have either great dive or rapid roll, you definitely could start bringing everybody back up to at least neutral, and not being totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think your plane you're talking about might be Speed 8. Speed 8 with great dive and low altitude performance is crazy. You go from being about to be shot down to like on the other side of the board.
Well, and you think about if it's your ace who unfortunately is the chump that's disadvantaged. Now you have an ace that comes back up to neutral, and you have an ace if you have aggressive that could be outmaneuvering and shooting you. So he literally can go across the board because they've played great dive to keep that card. So then he gets great dive, so he moves 16 inches, and then uses his ace card to outmaneuver and shoot some other poor sap who's neutral on the other side of the board thinking, oh, I'm good. I'm at 18 inches. There's no way he's going to hurt me.
I know it's going to be situational, but I do fear that being stuck at disadvantage at deployment if there's no clouds.
As you should.
Okay.
I rolled entirely too many 1s and 2s for my deployment setups, and I was not deploying in the cloud because I didn't have poor quality. So I'm like, I don't need to do that. And there I am hanging out at, disadvantage. So
Just
deploy outside a cloud is your own peril.
one more thing before we go, Doug. How many points is this tournament again?
Shut the F up. You suck. I hate you people. I'm going to go take up a podcast for, I don't know, Carcassonne, for Settlers of Catan. I quit this game. No. All right. So on that note, everybody, please send us some more tactics questions. Send us some more Blood Red Skies questions. There's been a lot of good discussion recently. People sending us some things to talk about and some questions via either Facebook Messenger or via the form on our website. So please feel free to reach out and ask us that way. Or if you're at Crucible, walk up and go, hey, you know what? I play Blood Red Skies. I have a question for you. Oh, but I'm not playing your Blood Red Skies tournament, so let me stab you in the heart. But no big deal, man. The deal is go to cons, have fun, hang out with people you like to play games with, and play the games that are going to bring you enjoyment. So if you play a lot of Blood Red Skies at home, please don't feel obligated to play Blood Red Skies with us. We'll just sit in the corner by ourselves and cry in our beers, our very expensive beers at the resort. But anyway, with that being said, any last-minute save rounds about Crucible or any of the upcoming events anyone wants to throw in? Any grudge matches? Steve, you and I have had our grudge match. Is it time for another Lead Pursuit grudge match between some other members of the podcast?
Yeah, I mean, are we going
Does
to
Casey have the balls to call me out?
run a BRS train on Casey at Crucible?
Oh my god!
Did Casey just say no, first of all, before we even see this whole BRS train, before that whole comment gets taken out? Did Casey just say no? You don't want to throw down against me? What's up? That's all right. I see how it is. No worries. Nobody wants to play the boss. The boss is just going to go run his own tournament, be boring, and have no fun. That's all right. Everyone else enjoy Crucible. I'll be miserable. Now, with that being said, please like, share the podcast. Give us some reviews. There are some outstanding and some outstandingly hilarious reviews out there. I will also say for those of you who are purchasing things from the Lead Pursuit store and leaving us reviews there, we do read them and we do laugh sometimes at the funny things you say there. So thank you very much to our sarcastic friends who enjoy leaving us reviews in the Lead Pursuit store. But once again, thanks everyone in the community. Please give us some more information and we will have some more abuse, humor, and maybe some Blood Red Skies news for you next week. And we just lost Steve in the middle of all that. Yeah, by the way, guys, in case you want to see how a podcast should be done, go on Cast Dice. Frickin' Brad just showing us up again. Mother effer.
He had like colored lights in the background, and he had like a remote control to put like stuff up on the screen. Animated intro.
Looked good. I was like, damn it, we suck again.
I don't know why I'd be doing this. I even tried a different browser, so we'll see.
Internet Explorer 4.0. Netscape.
Yeah. Steve Gusky, whatever he's using.
Exactly, whatever he's using. He's using Thunderbird as his email client.
Oh, Jesus Christ.